Alright, so I've really been wanting to do this for a while, and I feel now that we're on the cusp of Episode 7 coming out, I feel like this is kind of a good time to do it because Star Wars is fresh on everyone's minds. This is kind of relevant, and this is going to be a comparison of Avatar: Last Airbender and the original trilogy for Star Wars. Now, I just want to put a few disclaimers out there before I even get into this because these are two very beloved franchises. Avatar: Last Airbender is actually one of my favorite series of all time, if not my favorite series of all time. I don't exactly know where it ranks up right now, but it's, I mean, I watch it time and time again, and, you know, I enjoy it more and more every time. So, understand that. And Star Wars, I mean, everyone loves Star Wars. You know, Star Wars is a household name, and it's going to be remembered forever. So this isn't going to be me bashing one or the other, and obviously, if there are comparisons between the two, which I'm going to point out, it would actually make Avatar look worse, because obviously Avatar came way after. But even still, I love both, and this is just something I want to do for fun, basically. And, you know, maybe people have already, noticed this, and if you have, that's awesome. And if there's anything you noticed that I missed, a comparison, that you'd like to mention, go ahead and mention it. Also, as I said, this is on the cusp of Episode 7, so if you are watching this after you've seen Episode 7, or even years later, maybe after Episode 8 or something like that, understand that this was made and put out before Episode 7 was released. Not that it really matters, because I'm not going to be talking about Episode 7, nor am I really going to even mention the pre-trilogy, maybe once or twice. This is going to be mainly the original trilogy, pretty much primarily the original trilogy, and Avatar: Last Airbender, so not going into Korra or anything like that. Solely those two. So, I guess I'll get into it. So let's start off by looking at our story as a whole. In both cases, the story's broken up into a 3-act structure. For Star Wars, you have Episode 4, 5, and 6, and for Avatar, you have Book 1, 2, and 3. Going beyond that, both stories involve one vast group, or empire, or organization, or cult, launching a mass genocide towards another ancient culture, which throws the respected world out of balance. And it is up to our main hero, who is the last of said ancient art or culture, to restore balance to the world. In regards to Star Wars, we have the Empire launching its vast Order 66 genocide against the Jedi, throwing the universe and the Force into a state of fear and imbalance, and it is up to our main hero, Luke, to train himself as the last Jedi in order to help defeat the Empire and bring balance back to the Force and the universe. In regards to Avatar, the Fire Nation launched a mass genocide against the Air Nomads, throwing the 4 nations out of balance, and it was the Avatar's duty, Aang, to restore balance to the world by mastering all 4 elements and defeating the Fire Nation. Now let's take a look at some of the similar archetypes running through some of our main characters. Now granted, both casts have gotten bigger as the series progressed, but looking at our 3 main characters in both cases, there are a few similar archetypes that can be found in both. We have 2 of the characters being brother and sister. One of the characters, as I already mentioned before, practicing an ancient culture or art. One of our main characters has an animal companion, an animal guide, if you will. And one of our characters was a skeptic, initially, of whatever culture our main character believed in, only later to become a believer. We have our once fierce war general, now a peaceful teacher, that gives one of our other main characters moral and emotional guidance in times of plight. And speaking of moral and emotional guidance, we have our main character who would commonly call upon spirits of the past to help them through tough dilemmas. Now, backtracking to that once fierce war general made teacher, in both cases, that character considers himself to be a brother of our main villain. Obi-Wan, while he isn't actually a brother of Anakin, he did consider himself to be something of a pseudo-brother, and he often referred to Anakin as his brother in the pre-trilogy. And Ozai, while being the main villain of Avatar, he too is a father, he too is evil, and he too plays a big part in the relationship with one of our main characters. In Act 2 of both of our stories, our main protagonists both acknowledge that they're afraid of what they can become. Now, when it comes to Star Wars, the scene I'm referring to is when Luke was training in the cave on Dagobah. He defeats that projection of Darth Vader, and when the helmet bursts, you see Luke's face. Now, what makes that scene so good is, that scene is open for interpretation. I've spoken to a lot of people, and they all kind of have their own interpretation of what it means. How I take it is, that's something Luke is afraid of being. He doesn't want to be Darth Vader, and that's a feasible future, just as it was for his father. I mean, that is his father, as we learn later. So that's something he doesn't want to happen to him. That's how I've always taken it. In regards to Avatar, we learn that Aang is afraid of his true power. He's afraid of his Avatar state. Less of the power he wields and more of the fact that he's not in control. And he does come to terms with this later, but we really fleshed this out, and we really learned about this in Season 2 in an episode called The Avatar State. And basically Aang, he acknowledges that he doesn't like who he becomes when he loses control. He's really afraid of what he becomes. And while this is slightly different than Luke, whereas Luke is afraid of what he can feasibly become in the distant future, Aang is more afraid of what he becomes when he loses control. But one can construe that as, Aang losing control is going down the wrong path, and Luke, finding his way to the dark side is going down the wrong path as well. So both of them are afraid of what they can feasibly become. And speaking of Act 2, that brings me to my next point. In the conclusion of Act 2 in both stories, our main characters training with an old wise character that will help them master whatever art they're practicing, only to have their training abruptly concluded because our main character leaves in the hopes of saving their friends who are in danger, which leads to our main character getting badly injured and another character having a betrayal. So in Star Wars, we have Luke, who's in the middle of training with Yoda, who is an old and wise master, only to get a vision of his friends in danger, so he leaves before his training is properly concluded to go confront Vader. When he fights Vader, he loses one of his hands, and he gets badly injured, and we also have a betrayal from Lando. And in Avatar, we have Aang, who's in the middle of training with Guru Pathik to master his Avatar state, only to get a vision that Katara was in danger, so he left before his training was properly concluded as well. He went and he confronted Azula and Zuko, and he ended up losing the fight really badly, to the point where he pretty much would have died had Katara not used the spirit water on him. And also, as I just said, Zuko was in the fight, but he was fighting Aang and Katara, so Zuko had betrayed Katara's trust, so we had another betrayal. Which actually leads nicely into Act 3. In Act 3 of both of our stories, our heroes are seen going undercover in enemy territory. So in Star Wars, we had a few of our main cast undercover in Jabba's palace in order to save Han and to defeat Jabba. And Avatar opens up Book 3 with our main heroes undercover on a stolen Fire Nation ship while Aang is recovering. Later on in the season, our main heroes go undercover in the Fire Nation again. So as I said, this was just something I wanted to do for fun. I love both series. This isn't the knock on any of them. If anything, this is a testament to how much I enjoy them both. I always find these parallels. In fact, the longer I take to put this video out, the more parallels I kind of find between the two of them. And there are more to point out, of course. I mean, I can't point out every last thing, and I did leave a few things out, of course. But if you guys find any parallels that, you notice that I didn't, point out in this video, by all means tell me in the comment sections, or you can make a video of your own, or whatever you want to do. These are two great series, and, I love them both, and I hope you guys do too. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so I'll catch you guys in the next one.